Amanita Muscaria microdosing is a great antidote for any kind of addiction. Alcohol addiction, opioid addiction, designer drugs, amphetamine, cocaine is between 70 and 86%.
What else?
Addiction, depression, insomnia, psoriasis. I didn't plan to do this study. I didn't plan to write that book. Forget about it. I want to share what happened.
How do you use mushrooms? And in this case, I'm not talking about magic mushrooms. I'm talking about Amanita Muscaria, this red and white one, here on the cover of this brand new book called Microdosing with Amanita Muscaria. Today, we are talking to one of the leading experts on this, the one who wrote the book, Masha. That is not her real name, of course, but it's the one that she goes by to help protect her identity. She got banned by the Russian Federation 2 or 3 times, but in part because she has been introducing the Russian-speaking world to the idea of psychedelics and all the research that's been done in the West to that group of people. Fantastic work that she's doing. A great scientist, amazing mind. I think you're going to enjoy this. I tried to dive into everything from what do you have to be careful about to what are the things that it seems to help, how do you take it from a microdose to a macrodose, and lots of stories in between. So I hope you just enjoy this longer version. Again, the shorter version is up here, which is just condensing all of this down into what I would hope is the best way to get yourself introduced to the idea of using this mushroom in very small amounts. And with that, Masha, I picked up your book right here.
Oh, good.
Yep, under the recommendation of some other Russian friends. And they said, you've got to read this book. It's fantastic. Amanita Muscaria is also the mushroom that helped launch my channel. For some reason, everybody's interested in it. I found that the information out there is difficult to process from a new person. You know, was coming in new over a year and a half ago. I came in with the perception that it was dangerous. I was starting the video saying, okay, here's a mushroom. It's red and white. I talk about science and all different sizes, but I was going to say, but don't take it. It's bad for your liver. And I just did a quick search. I was like, this doesn't seem quite right.
Right.
And you have a similar background with that too. Maybe you can dive into how you came across it.
The funny part, I finished my podcast with Amanita. You started with it and I finished with it. I was running my psychedelic plants harm reduction podcast for 8 years. And I launched it in 2014. And by 2016, when I put video about microdosing with magic mushrooms, because I tried it myself after I read the James Feldman book. I was microdosing for 6 months. I took 6 months break and I did another course for 6 months and I got so great results. So I published that video about what I got and testimonies of other people who are following me with magic mushroom microdosing. And some of my followers start writing me about taking Amanita Muscaria in small pieces. My reaction was furious because I'm a doctor and I'm a mushroom hunter. My family was putting me in the forest pick up mushrooms since I was start to walk because I was born in the middle last century in Russia. We didn't have much food, so we were mushroom hunters. My parents told me, don't even look in this direction. And people start writing me, we're taking Amanita for several years. I'm like, you're crazy. You're going to kill your liver. You're going to kill your brain. But people were persistent. And I talked with a lot of people on Skype that time. And then I had some bad condition with my back. And I tried everything. I'm a doctor. I know what to use. I tried everything. No visible results. And then they told me if I will make the tincture from raw Amanita Muscaria, it will help me. I'm like, nah. But I didn't have a choice. I decided I'm going to try. So I got in the Pacific Coast. I got about 12 mushrooms. I made this tincture 2016. And since then, I go to gym. I walk like crazy for 20 months. And my back just said, good. After that, I was studying Amanita for 2 years straight. I read all the science articles. I read everything I could. I found a lot of history. I found a lot of medical articles about Amanita use, all the chemical compounds. And when I launched that project, I put 67 people together. They didn't know each other. They were living in different countries. We were talking almost daily about effects, because we didn't know how much to take. Nobody were ever talking about it. So I was writing down their effects, sleeping, mood, energy, all kind of medical pathology. And the data was so consistent from 67 people. They even didn't know what I do. I didn't tell anybody anything. And when I put all this data together in February 2019, I published that material, and it's blew Russian-speaking internet. The prices on Amanita Muscaria rise like 100%. It was gold Amanita rush. And in 6 months, I got a group of 2,000 people who were writing me about microdosing. And when I launched the questionnaire, I put questions, just basic, how old are you, how much do you take? I open a chat, live chat. I end up with the two live chats 24/7. I was running one, and my assistant Thomas was running another one. We end up with 8,000 people live talking about taking Amanita Muscaria live. So if anyone will die, we would all know. If any, yeah, if anyone will have like liver failure or kidney failure, we will know, because we were not sitting in a bunker, we were not hiding. It was all documented from day one, from a summer 2019. All the effects. How did we do it? How much did we take? By now, I have over 20,000 letters or comments written to me. And it's all published. It's documented by day, by time. It was all anonymous. So by this day, I ran this project for 4 years. Amanita Muscaria microdosing. Just Amanita Muscaria, I have to tell you, because we were researching small doses. It's all was volunteer program. I didn't push anybody. I didn't tell them, you have to take this and that. It was all volunteer. So 12,000 people I lined up to that day. About 6,000 of them were taking Amanita Muscaria microdoses. Small part Pantherina, because Pantherina is not the same mushroom and it's not very good to take. It's 50-50. Some people go crazy real easy because it has different chemical substances. And I have a lot of people who took middle doses, like from 2 grams and over every day. It's not good. So the Amanita rule for 4 years, the rule with Amanita, when less you take, then better the effects. And I have a group of people, over 1,000 people, who are taking Amanita dry in big doses, up to 50 grams.
That's a lot. 50 grams? I can't even imagine
grams.
taking 50 grams.
Oh, yeah. I have an interview with a person. He's a publicly known actor in Russia. He took 50 grams, and I have an interview with him. And I took myself 15 grams, 25 grams. Amanita is not good psychedelic agent regardless what is legal and you can take and pick it up and eat. It's not good because the dose of Amanita muscaria is strictly individual. Like with magic mushroom, you know, if you take 1 gram, what's gonna happen, basically. 5 grams, you know what's gonna happen. With Amanita, you never know what's gonna be. It's totally unpredictable. Somebody can take 5 grams and have disconnection, mind and body disconnects, and the body is really aggressive toward itself, start hitting the head of the wall. I collected so many photographs of people injured with broken legs, smart face, broken jaws, photographs. It's not like my fantasy. And I agree what Amanita trip gives you a lot of insights like any our psychedelics, but the price of it.
Would you say that it's because I've talked to a few people that really they don't promote the macro doses, but they say they have a lot of benefits to them, but maybe they should be heavily supervised or with a trained shaman or somebody who can facilitate, because the risk of overdose is high, something like that.
It's overdose is not like person gonna die. It's not that. It's about physical injuries.
Right.
Because people totally disconnected. They are not here. They seeing things and they could be so aggressive toward themselves. Maybe there is some way to cook it somehow. I don't know, because I don't even want to go in this direction. I research people were eating raw mushrooms or dry, and the results were deadly. People were losing their consciousness for 3 days, going crazy, ending up in emergency, collecting gabapentin in their bottoms. And I mean, I have over 1,000 testimonies about that. So I don't talk about it. I still have a very small chat for my followers, and we don't discuss Amanita trips. It's on their own risk. I don't want to encourage people saying, I agree it gives you insights, because it was experimenting with psychedelic plants for a decade. So I basically tried all the plants possible with good guides, good shamans, iboga, ayahuasca, cacti, San Pedro, peyote, I went through all of that before I opened my podcast. And I tried Amanita, 15 grams, 25 grams. Yeah, it gives you the same kind of, some people saying, oh, it's much deeper, it's much better. It's all individual opinion, because in size of psychedelic plants, we're all, at the end, you come up with the same exactly philosophy. It's not written, it's not in a book. But if you go and study, let's say, one plant, let's say ayahuasca, for many years, and you every 3-6 months go there, you end up with a philosophy which you can't miss. And it's not going to be individual. It's some kind of school. And Amanita brings you there. But I always give a description, like when you take, let's say, magic mushroom, it's like you're driving to Los Angeles from Malibu on nice Mercedes, and when you take Amanita, you go to Los Angeles underground, and you have to chew the ground with your teeth. Result is the same, but the price for it is very different. So I just was I was amazed with Amanita qualities in very small doses. As a doctor, I'm not saying it's panacea, and I'm not talking about people curing a lot of diseases. I'm talking about making their conditions much easier. Let's say,
go. Well, I think you were probably diving into some of the benefits. Would you consider it more of a survey type study? Because a lot of people that
Yeah,
I talk to dismiss it. They're either in the medical field or,
yeah,
heavily
I know.
science researched, but then like, oh, there's no double blind trials. But I'm like, yeah, but there's data here. There's a lot.
Somebody have to start, right? Somebody have to start, and the data I collected, it has many limitations, which separates my book from scientific literature. I have a PhD. I know how to do the double-blind studies. I got my PhD 40 years ago. This is a public survey. This is preliminary study. Just collect information. Should we go to this direction or not? Nobody ever did it. I didn't find any documented data on this large scale of taking microdoses at all. None. Zero. So this is kind of this information is based on individual experiences. We're not talking about clinical study, blind groups, or anything. It's descriptive statistics. Let's say some people do social studies. What do? We call people and ask them questions. It's not placebo double study. This is an opinion. This is descriptive studies. A lot of our social studies is based on it, and it's legitimate way to study something. If somebody want to do the clinical trials, go ahead. Go ahead. But to collect 6,000 testimonies from people who are telling the same thing, hello. But clinical studies, if people want to run, go ahead. I just don't have access to that, and I don't have desire to do that. I just wrote my book, not promote Amanita microdosing. It's just a book to share information what happened, because Amanita first documented in 1756. The first book was written in 1756. It was a Russian St. Petersburg Academy. It was Professor Krashenikov. He was a participant of Great Northern Expedition in 1733, and he described intoxication with Amanita Muscaria in Siberian tribes.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we have several books by Steller in 1793, and then Lindenau, and some other people, and then boom, nothing.
From your understanding, is that because it was actively squashed by the powers that be, removing it from the tribal knowledge? I'm unsure how that's happened in history, but not a lot of people use it.
Yes.
In Russia,
it was removed, totally removed, because I was born myself in this East Siberian place where all tribes were using Amanita before my birth.
Mm-hmm.
And when Stalin was taking those territories, they were killing all the shamans, destroying the families. They were taking children out of families to stop all the legend, all the myths, all the culture, and they were putting them in foster families, so they forget their language. So they totally destroyed the land, the culture, because it was over 50 different tribes, small groups of people, very peaceful, very knowledgeable, and in this very serious style of living when 9 months of cold. But they were all widely using Amanita Muscaria. That was all described in this Northern Expedition books,
Mm-hmm.
And when I was born, nobody even knew about it ever. But I found very old books. My subscribers send me a lot of information, like old articles. It was not clinical studies, but some recipes, even 18th century, 19th century, in very weird Russian language, the old one. So let's say Amanita Muscaria tincture was used in Russian territories forever. It's not like I discovered Amanita Muscaria microdoses. It was done before. It was nobody used microdose word. I took it from James Fidman because I like his approach. I love his study, and it's kind of the same study, just with different mushroom. And I put it together, microdosing and Amanita together. It's not like I invented something. People were using it for centuries for some needs.
And so what were the biggest revelations from all of the studies that you did, you know, several thousand people? What seemed to come to the surface the most?
Our personal discovery is a group, not my personal, because all information I have is from other people, right? From chatting, from talking, from the discovery, which nobody talked before. And now this information coming in the medical articles. Amanita muscaria microdosing is a great antidote or any kind of addiction: alcohol addiction, opioid addiction, designer drugs, amphetamine, cocaine, any heavy addiction. Amanita muscaria. The range of in my data information is between 70 and 86%.
Whoa, that's a lot. And do you think it's somehow like a psychological thing where it just allows you to decide, or is it working on the physical addictive part? You know what I mean? Like
Robert, I don't know how it works because that was not my goal. I don't want to put the theories and say, oh, that's worse because and because. No, I collected the data, and if somebody want to study why, that's will be their path. I just want to tell you, I was born in a country where there is no person in my motherland who never was drunk. So people were drinking excessively, and I have a lot of my friends who died from using alcohol, and I was seeing how people were damaging their health, their mind, their body with alcohol. There is no placebo for alcoholics.
Right.
I just there is none. It doesn't matter what you're gonna tell them, what you're gonna do. You're gonna put them on drugs. You're gonna keep them on rehab. None. In alcohol, I have testimonies of people who were dying from alcoholism. They were taking alcohol in severe dosages for decades. And after few courses, 3, 6 months, 1 year, I have so many testimonies. I know it's not a placebo, you know. I sent you some pictures yesterday.
I have them. Yeah, I have them right here. Although I'm probably going to mess up the recording if I share the screen, but I'm looking at them.
That's fine. That's fine. You can put them in the podcast if you want.
Perfect.
Let's say,
okay, great.
Let's say I send you a photograph of a person who broke. It's actually my husband. He broke his leg skiing on Christmas. This last Christmas.
Is that that's the lower shin one?
Yeah. Do you see on the picture his after the surgery 10 days? Do you see how big is his leg?
Yeah,
it's swallowed enormously, and doctor was like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? Because it's gonna destroy all job he did. So I took him home. I put the compress on his leg, and I send you picture after 8 hours of Amanita muscaria compress. 8 hours. I have it all documented. 8 hours, because when you take the photograph, it gives immediate time and day you took, right? See the difference between 8 hours, what it was and what it's become in the morning, his leg.
It's a huge difference. Wow.
And after that, when people were saying, oh, you didn't do placebo double studies, hello, If you want to do it, go ahead. I just, when I have that, and you can put later the photographs with the psoriasis.
Yep. I see that too.
When you see those pictures and when you talk with these people and when you see it live, their hands, their elbows, their legs and everything, and when we take microdoses of Amanita Muscaria, you see the difference, because some of conditions I cannot document in photographs, like let's say high blood pressure, improving their sleep, getting rid of depression. You cannot photograph it, but some things you can. And I have a lot of photographs like this. It's just not in a book, because I submitted my manuscript in 2020, and I was running my study 2 more years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I collected more data, more photographs, and this book was so big. It was 360 pages, so I didn't put many photographs. But the thing is, for people, I have a lot of people who say, yeah, you didn't run these clinical studies. Yes, I didn't. So what? I'm not pushing any sales. I'm not pushing new product. I'm not engaged anyhow on advertising or monetizing my information. I wrote the book. I said what happened, and that's it. You know?
I feel like it's not how people are used to thinking either. I feel like with the way pharma works and the way people are trained to think about drugs these days, they
Right.
want to just hear certain key points, like did it pass clinical blind studies? What was the
Yeah.
percentage? What is it? And that was how this introduced me to natural medicine a little bit more, because I had to find my microdose. I had to boil it down and then learn to listen to my body, which is not something I don't think you're ever trained to do in society today. But it opened my eyes, and that's why I'm a big fan of people figuring it out like that too.
Right.
Yeah. So what were the other things you found then? Addiction? What else?
Addiction, depression, insomnia, psoriasis. I have questions for 150 conditions in my questionnaire, 150, and most of them is over 50%.
Wow.
The condition is getting better. The lifestyle, let's say taking Amanita Muscaria microdose with some like Alzheimer. It doesn't cure Alzheimer, but it makes their life easier, you know?
Right.
Temporarily, because Alzheimer gonna progress no matter what. And I'm not saying for people who request in clinical studies, it's make their life easier.
Right.
We wake up, we have some memory, we're happy, we're not aggressive, we sleep good, we eat good, we talk with their people. It doesn't cure Alzheimer. That's what we're misunderstanding in my study. Let's say any kind of conditions like autism, it doesn't cure autism.
Right.
It doesn't cure a cerebral palsy, but it's make their life much easier. You know, that's what I'm talking about, because there is a big difference between curing the diseases and make their life much better, because you sleep good, you have appetite, you're happy. You know, that's what I'm talking about.
Microdosing is also a foreign idea to people. Maybe you can talk to this for a second. I feel like people are used to, say, a doctor you have depression or anxiety. A doctor might give you a benzodiazepine. You take it and you feel right away. It's different.
Right.
And when you're talking about microdosing, it's not exactly like that, right?
No.
So how do you try to determine if you're getting an effect? How do you talk to people about that?
So the protocol I come up with for 4 years of studying people who were taking microdoses, because in the beginning we didn't know how much, how often, what form. We didn't know anything. We were just going in a blind direction. And all those questions which I put on my questionnaire, they were coming. They were coming from my people, because they were saying, Baba Masha, I'm taking microdose and that's what I have. My psoriasis is gone. My blood pressure is, and I put question, blood pressure, psoriasis, or any other. It was, we were going together for years to discover all those conditions which I put in my book. So for 4 years, we have protocol like this. You have to find your individual dose, because Amanita muscaria is growing on different geographic location. It has different chemical compounds. The concentration is different. Even you pick up in month, separate 1 month at the same forest, it's going to be different. So each batch of Amanita you picked and prepared yourself, you have to try for your individual dose. And the dose is like vitamin. You take small piece, you feel nothing. That's the right dose. You don't have salivation, you don't have blast of energy, you don't have like sleepiness or anything. Not positive, not negative. You write in your journal what you want, why you taking Amanita. Because if person is healthy and happy, why you want to take Amanita Muscaria? You're not gonna have a superpower abilities and fly through the air. And if you're healthy, you shouldn't take it. But if you have some conditions, let's say insomnia, let's say you don't have appetite or whatever, you write down why you're taking it. It doesn't work with money in your career for sure, because some people taking it because of that. And when you find your individual dose from a 1 batch of Amanita, and when you take it 0.5 gram in the morning or less per take, in the morning, at the evening, or both, because you have to watch yourself for first week. If you take microdose in the morning and you feel sleepy, then you don't take it in the morning. You take it only at the evening time. If you take it at the evening time and you get a lot of energy, you switch, because Amanita is so unique. The effect of Amanita microdose depends on the time you take it.
Right.
I never ever heard about stuff like this. The same stuff taken different time of the day affects you differently. So if you pass all that, I have a whole manual how to take it. And then you find your dose, you find the time of the day, which when Amanita doesn't affect your living, and you take it for 3 weeks. When you stop, you look back, you read what you wrote, and you compare.
Mm-hmm.
Do you sleep bad? Do you smile in the morning? Do you get aggressive with your relative or at work? How did you go through the day? Did you try kill everybody? Did you get aggression? Or you just calm and happy and you don't care? All these subtle changes. And then you know if it affects you or not. And then you take some break, and then you repeat. That's the protocol.
Even just doing that process is probably new for some people, like trying to document their own health. But I think that's really important for people. So it says in your book, some of the big ones were sleep, addiction, analgesic effects, and then there were tons of other things as well. Do you want to talk? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the analgesic effects.
Amanita muscaria, when you use tincture, not so far Amanita microdosing. It does have analgesic effects, but not much is a tincture which you put it on your skin. Mm-hmm. Because I don't need the clinical studies, because I tried it on myself. I live on an isolated island. I have a huge farm. I grow all my food myself. And during the summer, I'm all in scar and bruises, beat up by snakes, spiders, and wasps, anything. And I don't have any medicine in my house, even though I'm a doctor. I even don't have aspirin. So what I do, if I have a wound, this summer, I had a blind study performed on myself. I was bitten by wasps. They attacked me, a whole sword attacked me. And because I was trying to do this, defend myself, they bit both hands. And my hands were like pillows, both of them. It was first time in my life when I was bitten in both. So I decided, okay, now it's time to do a clinical placebo study. So I put a compress on my working right hand, and the pain went away in 26 because I was monitoring it.
26 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, the pain was gone. I had this swelling. I could bend my fingers. It was red, but that was it. This hand, the pain was unbearable because I had multiple bites. So it happened in 10 in the morning. So by 10 p.m., 12 hours later, this arm was almost normal. This one were growing in size, and the redness, the allergy were coming to my shoulder, and it was itching deadly. So by 10 p.m., I said, enough with clinical studies. So I wrapped it with, I did the compress, and 25, 30 minutes was gone, you know. I tried it in myself so many times. It worked on any kind of pain. Let's say menstrual cramps. I want to tell you important thing. It doesn't eliminate the problem why menstrual cramps happened, but it takes the pain away. See the difference?
Interesting. And that's in eating, or you can't rub it on anything at that stage?
You rub it on your stomach. You rub it on a place where it happened. Like, let's say neuropathic pain. I have 87% of people taking away neuropathic pain. Doesn't matter when it happened. You just put it all over your body. Half an hour, you're so happy. It doesn't cure the condition. It doesn't eliminate the cause, but it takes the pain away. It's not addictive like opioids. And you have energy, you're happy, it takes your bad mood, negative thinking away. Let's say we arthritis, any kind of pain. You put the lotion on once or twice. I sent you the picture of tendinitis as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it took the pain, it took the all the symptoms, you know, in 2 days.
Wow.
And I put this question on voting. 92% people of using Amanita Muscaria tincture. 92%. Plus, I use it on everybody. When my husband was sitting on Oxycontin for 5-6 days after he broke the leg last Christmas, I said, let me cure your pain. Just let me do it. He was like, oh no, I'm going to take my Oxycontin. I said, forget about Oxycontin. I was wrapping his leg every night because he was not staying in bed. He was working and jumping on crutches. But he believes in Amanita. It's not like psychological belief and placebo. He knows since I have very vicious dogs. He was playing with my pit bull, and he was jumping in a river, and his knee met my pit bull teeth.
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah, it was not like my pit bull were attacking my
Right,
husband. No, it just he was on this rope jumping in the river, and you can imagine how deep were the wounds. So we come back home. I took this tincture and I just throw it on his knee and rub it 2 hours. Get it?
Wow.
Nothing. I
Wow.
send you the picture. You have a picture.
Oh, is that
All-
one of the pictures there?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the pictures on of the knee with
I see it.
bloody wounds.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look that bad because I took the blood away, and you don't see how deep it was because my pit bull, she has a vicious teeth, and the wounds were deep. We didn't do anything. We didn't go to doctor. We didn't put stitches. I didn't give him antibiotics. I just put the Amanita alcohol tincture and I wrap it, and that's it. We got by.
Incredible. That's
and
incredible.
I do it with myself all the time. I just want to tell you, Robert, I'm not promoting Amanita and I'm not pushing anything. I just want to share with people what happened. That's the difference between people who saying, "Oh, that's not true. We want more proof." I don't want to even give you more proof because I don't care. I just want to share information what I find out accidentally without planning it. I didn't plan to do this study. I didn't plan to write that book. I didn't plan to give all the interviews on a podcast or start selling Amanita or tincture. Forget about it. I want to share what happened. That's it. That's what's the difference between people who are pushing new product, and then you can ask more proof.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not pushing anything. I even don't care if
Yeah,
you believe or not.
Well, I do think it throws in some skepticism, probably justified skepticism, when you see people that are talking about something, but they clearly have a benefit they're gaining from pushing it,
Right.
whatever
fine.
that means. But yeah,
That's totally fine with me. In another discovery, hot flashes in postmenopausal microdosing Amanita hot flashes is a great remedy.
oh really?
For mood, for all this.
And that would be ingesting it, microdose
Yeah,
ingesting it. Okay.
ingesting, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And what about so you talk about tinctures and you talk about microdosing. What about the oils? Have you ever experimented with oils? Because it would be different a little bit because it's
a little bit different. I did not try it on my own, but I had a person who helping me a lot, Thomas. He lives in the forest just like me. I totally isolated, and he's practicing Amanita. He makes all kind of lotions and oils and everything. I have in my book photographs of person with a 4th stage of finger burn, and they were trying to cure it in a hospital, and after 1 month they gave up and they said we want to amputate it. And I have pictures in dynamic, and this person was in our chat, so it was live person, it was in the chat, it was all documented, and people were observing it. The thing is, my podcast in Russian language has over 100 live streams with voice live streams, when people come in this conversation and describe their effects. It's not like people I found somewhere paid them money to tell how good Amanita microdosing. They were coming in my chat. We were having 300, 400, and at the end over 1,000 people, and people were talking from different countries, all Russian speaking, from different places, and they were talking about their conditions, what happened to them. That's the evidence. I don't want to translate it all in English because it's just too much to do. But I have a lot of live people, and it's all on YouTube, who are talking live. If it's all placebo, well, then you have to take Amanita microdosing to access this placebo effect, to access that cure is a placebo, then start taking Amanita.
Yeah, so Well, and actually, I want to ask you about that. I'm assuming the fingers healed, by the way, finish up on that. You were talking about the fingers they were going to amputate.
Oh yeah, I have pictures in dynamic. This person over 6 months even grew with nails back.
It's plugged in. Sorry, go ahead.
Because on the first picture you can see the skin, the tissue were burned up to the bones, and on the last picture you can see it's all restored. It's in the book.
Okay. By the way, I'm going to, I need to just say this. This is my favorite book on Amanita Muscaria. The first chapter where you kind of give a synopsis is probably the best synopsis I've ever read anywhere, which I really enjoyed. So good job on that. And then, half of the book, for people who haven't read it, probably, about all this much of the book, those are all the personal accounts that you documented. So it almost, like if you were just doing your own research, you could just read through all of them, which I find really interesting.
Oh yeah. Because when I was talking with publisher, they said, why don't we just cut off all the personal letters to you? And why don't we just put it by condition? I said, This, by the way, the picture of a burned skin is on page 57. You can look in the book right now.
Is that the one you were talking about with the?
Oh yeah. See the first one and see 6 months later?
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
It was Amanita dry powder mixed with some animal fat, 50-50.
Wow.
Everyday application on the skin. So why, I want to explain you why I put over 1,000 testimonies, because some people complaining saying, oh, that's just testimonies. It's like on Amazon reviews. No,
Yeah,
it's not. It's a little bit different than Amazon review, because when you read all those testimonies, you finally realize how individual reaction of everybody on Amanita intake.
Right.
Because
and I think,
because you read what happened, what was before, how did we take it, what mistakes did we do, because I put people who overdose a little bit, and when we put the dose made the lower dose, this is all mistakes, all the procedures, all the manuals, how different Amanita affects everybody. So you cannot systematize it, put it in one pill. The reason I start doing that project, I'll tell you, because Amanita could not be monetized.
right.
You cannot grow it on your garden. You cannot make any kind of greenhouse, because it's symbiotic mushroom. It grows only in certain places, in symbiotic connection to certain trees. Plus, it losing its potency over time. So you cannot pick Amanita and sell it for 10 years. 6-7 months, forget it. It's very seasonal, and you cannot equalize all the chemical compounds, put it in a pill and start selling it, because it doesn't work. That's the reason I put all these personal testimonies, to see how different it is for everybody.
That's awesome.
And that's why I decided I'm gonna put it this way. So if people want to do it, they have to do it on their own, and not buy it on internet. This is the worst thing you can do. Buy some Amanita, unknown source, because it could be picked up in some very bad ecology places, some chemical dumpsters near the road. It sucks everything in.
That's something that I get asked a lot, is how or how careful do you have to be of where it is? And I would imagine, you have to be somewhat careful. I spent some time in Chernobyl, and after that, you weren't really supposed to pick mushrooms for a while, for instance, because it can collect some of the chemicals.
Yeah, and the amount of Amanita Muscaria grown in Chernobyl is enormous. Imagine people pick it up and sell it on internet.
Sure.
Hello.
Right. So, okay, I think one of the things that I've found, I've made 3 videos on Amanita so far. Everyone always asks, how do I get started? And I think one of the best ways is to pick up this book. So that's a good
Exactly.
promotion. But if you were to summarize briefly, first thing you're going to read, you need to get knowledgeable. You need to learn about it. What's the path when you go out and you pick a mushroom? You're not going to just like start taking a thumbnail sized bite of it, right? There's actually a little bit of a process. Could you give us a summary of what you found is the best approach with the, understanding that you really should be researching it all. Don't just go by this little explanation.
Right.
Yeah.
Before you go pick up Amanita, the person should buy scale. So not take a nail size or anything, a scale. Small scale for $10, so you can weight it. When person should go to a forest and very nice clean place, because I go to Pacific Coast from Monterey up to Seattle. Amanita is everywhere on the Pacific Coast. And we have season, it starts in Seattle about August, and it goes down, and by March it's reaches Monterey Bay. You pick up Amanita cups only, because stems and cups, they have different chemical compounds. The percentage is different, and the chemicals are different. Then a person should not wash it. You cannot wash Amanita because all the chemicals are water soluble. So if you wash the Amanita cup, gonna wash everything away and nothing gonna be left. You should, person should clean it up with old toothbrush, pick up all the pieces of dirt, little bit with dry, with a wet napkin very carefully, and then dry it up on dehydrator. Temperature is between 45 and 50 Fahrenheit. And then it takes about 24, 30 hours. Me personally, I'm cutting Amanita like pizza through the middle, because the ends are very thin and the middle is thick. So you cut it like pizza on small triangles and you turn it. You have to watch it because it's easy to burn Amanita, and you have to watch it. I take those triangles, and when they crispy dry like chips, I put it in a gallon jar, put them there, and after I dry everything, I close the jar overnight, and when Amanita starts sweating and it gets wet again from, because you cannot dry it through in one time. And after it's become like elephant ears, soft, you put it in dehydrator and dry it up for 2 hours more. Then you put it in a jar, and I use small little bags with salt or rice to take excessive water, keep it dry, and you can keep it in a refrigerator, but if you want to store it for a long time, I put this jar in a freezer and it stays a little bit longer. And next one, here is come a trick. So when I study Amanita Muscaria intake in couples, I realized 2 people taking Amanita, the same Amanita, and we have different effects. The wife, for example, is mellow, happy, doesn't care about anything, and the husband is like, oh, become aggressive, doesn't sleep. And I'm like, why? When I start running this question through my chats with 8,000 people, so at the end I find out Amanita with time changing its chemical properties. I think ibotenic acid converts to muscimol, but I don't want to do any theories. I just want to describe you the facts, what I get, what I got. So me personally, it's very hard to make me mad, aggressive, or start like la 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 la. I'm like, you have to do real big effort to make me mad. And my assistant Thomas, he's like a bomb. You can say one wrong word and forget it. We realized I can take fresh dried amanita, and it suits me much better than 3 months later. This amanita fresh dried, I even can take small pieces of raw, very small pieces. It does not, it's affect me in positive way. And when amanita dries over, stays in a jar for 3 months, it's affect me in negative way. I'm drowsy, I'm sleepy, I have no energy, I don't want to do anything, I have an apathy. And Thomas, my assistant, who has totally different mental condition, because he's like a blowing bomb. Anytime, you never can predict what he gonna do next minute. He cannot take fresh dried amanita at all. He cannot use tincture. It causes him waves of aggression, even like black floaters in the eye, and he's getting like, very negative results. So what I find out, studying the couples, because I have over 20 couples, and we had different effects of the amanita. So we were talking and talking for 3-4 months. The population is divided by 3 groups. First group, about 30%. We don't care what kind of amanita we should take, fresh dried or 3 months later. We call it fermentation. It's not really fermentation, but that's what we give the name, fermentation. So 30% can take any kind of amanita. 30% of people can only take fresh dried, like first week, first month, positive effects. And a third of the population can take only amanita who's fermenting or whatever, staying in a jar over 3 months. That's why you cannot monetize it. That's why you cannot put it in capsules and start selling like crazy, because it doesn't work this way. It doesn't.
That's incredible. And that's hard for people to wrap their head around.
Yeah, and when you buy amanita online, you don't know what temperature we used when we dried it. We might use 100 Fahrenheit and it's nothing left. We might wash it to make like a presentable look, right? If we wash it, forget it, there is nothing left. We don't know how long we store it, because the storage changing the chemical properties. It's very tricky mushroom. That's why everything in testimonies, because I was putting people's question, people answer, and by the time I collected over 20,000 testimonies on that.
Incredible.
I put them almost every day when I have time, 5, 10 a day. People still writing me, they describe it. Even I don't run my study anymore, but they still writing me. And another thing, I sent you photographs of my test on the animals with the quail eggs.
Yes.
When somebody
Those are
sent
quail
me
eggs. Okay, I see
quail
that.
eggs, right? First, when somebody sent me the chicken size egg, I was like, oh no. Even me working with Amanita so many years, I'm skeptical, still skeptical. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna give it to my quails, because I have quails in my on my farm. And you see the difference in the size of the egg.
Yeah, I see. So did it got bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
They got bigger. Okay. So this is actually a good point to talk about, and maybe we can lead into this, but I know you ran some studies with them on your animals, probably in part to see if there were any dangers of using Amanita muscaria. So
Yeah.
what should people know about that it would be called contraindications, but just, you know, essentially the
Contraindication.
things you have to be careful about with the Amanita.
Okay, I have indications for any psychiatric pathology, because people with schizophrenia, bipolar, some of them saying, yeah, I have a big success. I'm not advising take them alone in the kitchen because we cannot evaluate their condition. If we work together with a therapist, right, then they might try, but not alone in the kitchen with a bunch of amanitas because it's unpredictable. So the psychiatric diseases and pregnancy. Pregnancy, it's clinical trial with placebo, which I run on my guinea pigs. So I built up the house and I separated my guinea pigs on 3 groups. So first group was double placebo study because my guinea pigs, we don't know if they were taking. So one group, they were not taking anything. Second group, they were taking Amanita tincture in their drink.
Okay.
And third group, they were taking dry Amanita powder spread over the food. So I ran 5 generations of guinea pigs taking Amanita microdoses. Not all the time, but like 3 weeks break, 3 weeks break. 5 generations, because you can watch the health condition when your animals give birth to their children, and their children take microdoses, and children of children. So you're gonna end up with some crazy 6 legs animals, 2 heads, or liver failure, or you watch the condition of newborns and how they develop, their activity, their size, their weight, their everything. You cannot, so the pregnancy is big no contradiction. No, because I had 50% of stillborns.
Wow. Okay. Right.
Only if you give it to the pregnant female.
Right.
Not when she is in a normal state of her life. Let's say she took Amanita, she had a break for 3 weeks, and been in our course, and when break, and when she got pregnant, the children are very healthy, and their children of children are happy and healthy. They're active, they're energetic, they have good weight compared to control group. But if you feed Amanita microdosing during the pregnancy, that's a bad choice.
Right. Well, that's good that you looked into that briefly. And it's also probably a good warning for pretty much any drug use.
I did, Robert, because after I ran all that study, and so many people accidentally got involved in my study, I kind of had a guilt trip. I thought, what if I'm wrong?
Right.
What if I'm wrong? Because my Russian book was downloaded 250,000 times.
Wow.
I published it in 2020 in Russia. 250,000 people downloaded electronic version. I'm like, what if I'm wrong? What if it was just like some more? That's why I run it on animals, to prove it to myself, not to prove it to my audience or anybody, just to prove it to myself. I'm not mistaken. I didn't make a mistake, and it's safe.
Right.
2 years I was doing this study on my guinea pigs.
That's awesome. Well, that's I heard that you were doing that, and I don't think most people would even think to do that. So that elevated you in my mind. I was like, that's pretty impressive. You're running the studies yourself. But also, it's fantastic that you did that.
So on animals, it's quails, and and guinea pigs. Yeah, it
What-
was very interesting, you know, Robert, because it's given me different life. It's like I was born again. I don't like that born again expression, but in 2016, Robert, I couldn't walk. I had such a big pain in my back because I damaged my spinal in the gym, and I had 5 millimeters bulge. And all doctors I personally know, all my friends were saying, "Oh, let's operate it." Da, da, da. I'm like, no. And when I started using Amanita tincture, since 2016, I don't have pain in my back. It didn't cure my condition. It didn't take away the injury, but I don't have pain. And I don't use it all the time. I was using it over the years. And let's say 2-3 years ago, I don't use it anymore. I just have to be careful. I go to gym, I walk for 20 miles, I go hunting Amanita every winter. And I have to walk 15, 20 miles to find a couple pounds. I can't. And before that, I couldn't even work on my farm. I have to stay in bed when it was very bad. I couldn't even go to the bathroom to that point. That's why I started that research. Not because I want to write the book. It was not even in my mind. I just was so curious because I'm a trained doctor. I'm brainwashed very strong, you know. I was believing in aspirin for so many years.
Right.
And it was just out of my curiosity, and people who work with me, I'm so grateful to them because it was all volunteer trials. I didn't ask anybody. And we were so nice because people of 12,000 people writing to you for 4 years, it takes a big effort, you know?
Yeah.
And it was all a community effort. Not just what I discovered, blah, 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 Masha. No, people did it. A group of 12,000 people did it.
That's awesome. And I think, we haven't addressed this so far, but I think that a lot of the people that watch my work they enjoy that I come from a science background, which is what you come from. I think in some ways, like the hippy dippy approach, I'll put it that way, to psychedelic, a little turns them off because I don't know, it's a foreign type approach and they don't want to go down that hole. But you obviously have, kind of hippie glasses and a wig on right now. Do you want to talk about why you're doing that?
Yeah. This is my stage look. I'm playing a keyboard in a psychedelic rock band. And that's my stage look.
Really? That's so you do?
Yeah.
You play keyboard? That's incredible.
I play keyboard in psychedelic rock band. It's how I appear on the stage. And I'm not gonna prove anything my way, like Thomas Hudson saying shrooms and brooms way. To tell you the truth, I don't care. I did this research. I'm so happy with results. I don't do it anymore. I closed my psychedelic podcast. It's not like I want to bring more people to my podcast. I don't run my podcast anymore. I closed it in April because of war, what happened in my country. Because 50% of my people were Russian people and a lot of people from Ukraine, and when people who were helping me with my administrators in my Telegram chat start dying, I realized I can't talk about microdosing when it happened with Russian-speaking territories and pretend nothing is going on. So I shut down my podcast. And I don't do any work anymore, and I switched to totally different subject. What I'm researching right now on my own, not being a public person, because I got a lot of this stuff like clinical blah blah blah, shrooms and brooms. Forget it. I don't want to even do that. I switched to different subject. I am researching health benefits of some small animal, which gives me a lot of benefits to me, to my friends, to my family, and I'm so excited. And I'm not going to do it public. I don't have to prove myself in front of people. Why? And so you were laughing at me when I said Baba Masha is dead. Yeah, she is. I'm Baba Masha representative. But I'm done. I'm done with public appearance. I'm done with psychedelic studies. I said what I want. I translated a lot of English books, articles. I introduced to Russian-speaking people a lot of people which are prohibited in their country, and websites like Shroomery and all these popular international websites were shut down in Russia. We don't have any information. So I translated a lot of books and articles. Everything is in my videos, which still on YouTube. I have nothing to say. Thanks, Baba Masha. I'm right now private person, and I do my research on different stuff. I do. It's not like I want to go public and say people, oh, believe me, forget it.
Right.
Everybody is on their own terms.
I think you have so much that we can all learn from. So I appreciate that you're able to come on here, for instance, and chat with us about it, because even though it's all out there, there's not a whole lot of you saying it out there, but you've done so much of the research, and I think it's valuable hearing it from you because it comes with so much authority. And whether or not, you know, you feel that way, I feel like it's just great hearing from you and talking about it.
It was very great event, despite all these studies, because I was teaching medicine in my country when I was younger. And it was, and I like science. I like research. I like it. And I'm like mad scientist or doing it on my isolated island, line up 12,000 people in the country, and they even don't know who I am. And it was fun, with people, help them, and see all the positive changes in their health, It was a really exciting event.
So I want to end with one last thing, because it's something I'm working on. It's related to this, but it's a video that kind of talks about the relationship between the current Western medicine, and I'll have to define that a little bit, and then maybe alternative medicine, because I found there's two camps of people. You're either for or against, and there's very little gray area in the middle for a lot of people. What do you see as maybe the positives and benefits of each, or can you kind of just talk about that difference of, because this would be, I think, considered less Western medicine and more alternative medicine.
I have a lot of training in medicine. I was trained by 12 years. I was trained as pediatrician, pediatric surgeon. Then I switched to obstetrics and gynecology. So I went through a lot of things until I realized I don't want to do it anymore, because I found some traits. Because when you go in medical school, they brainwash you in a way. Oh, you're like second after the God, you save lives, da. And it's ego trip. Right now, our official medicine is good with surgeries in accidental practice. Let's say car accidents, whatever accidents, with surgery. But the preventive medicine, there is a standard list. You go to the doctor, they check, take all the tests. They said, oh, you have this, and this. Have all those bowl of pills, which are written down in the manual, and you cannot go left or right because you're going to be fired. That's it. Let's say we take atherosclerosis. You can pull it up. It's public information. If person have atherosclerosis, what you should prescribe? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, regardless. And if patient not gonna take it, the doctor will be mad, because if he not gonna put his patient on those pills, he gonna be fired. That's what I don't like, because There is no alternatives right now. You go to the doctor and they prescribe the patient what they were told to prescribe in that condition. That's what I have a Medicare, and I'm paying so much money for my Medicare because I make a lot of money, and I pay like $700 for my Medicare every month. And my husband say, "Why don't you go to the doctor and run the test?" I said, "Why? I even don't have file in America. They don't know I exist. My physician never heard my name. They didn't run any tests on me." I don't want to even go because, you know, our body is very, we have things come and going. And let's say if you come and I run the test, I will always find out something wrong with you. I'm going to prescribe you some pills. If you have some free time, go on internet and read about side effects of aspirin. It's a public information. You go to PubMed and you read side effects of aspirin. It's from, you just read it carefully. It's about 60 different conditions you can get. And it's not side effects, it's effects.
Right.
It's effects, it's not side effects. You can have a failure of many organs, you can die, you can have stroke, you can have whatever, just from aspirin, which is over counter. And after 50 years old, all our population in many countries take aspirin daily. Read about that. Just read out of curiosity. How many positive and what's negative? That's what I call side effects, which might occur. No, it's effects. That's what. That's why for last 40 years, I didn't take any pills at all. I don't have them in my house. I'm almost 70 right now, and I have no diseases. None. Zero. Ask me why? Because I don't take any pills. And I don't have side effects. And if I have some condition, I know how to cure it with my remedies, which don't need clinical placebo studies in my case. That's the point. That's my opinion. I'm not against the medicine. Medicine is great. When something in emergency, there is a good pills, there is good doctors. I'm not dismissing the official medicine at all. But now it's business. In my opinion, if country is great and government likes their people, they should do living and medicine free. Because we cannot speculate on the health and death of citizens of a country. If you want to be a good country, give people medicine for free because it's their life or death. Don't speculate on it. Oh, you don't have insurance, go die in a ditch. That's not right approach, in my opinion. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, I would agree with you on that one. Well, I will let you know when that video comes out, but I wanted to ask you that. Great, yeah, but that's later. Thank you so much for taking the time. I think we covered everything I wanted to talk about, the benefits and some negatives and some of your perspective on it. Oh, do you have something real quick?
Oh, I just, you were talking about the ways people take it.
Go ahead and you can say it again.
Yeah. What?
You had mentioned some of the ways that people take it. You mentioned tinctures, and lotions, oils, and you put it up like a powder on for your chickens. But have you heard, of people smoking it or people reporting with that? Yeah. That seems like it might have some intrinsic problems because you're actually smoking it and, it's fire in your lungs.
Yeah.
But I was wondering about that.
That's a good last one. Yeah.
I have people tried. I tried myself. It's a waste of product. If you smoke a little bit, you don't have any effects. If you smoke a little bit more, you just become dull. kind of stupid. And if people want to smoke something, they should smoke grass, pot,
Okay.
marijuana. That's a much better
Right.
choice. More effects in smoking Amanita is none. Plus, all those things smoke you inhale, it's not very good for lungs at all. At all. So even I was trying smoke it through water. What do you call it? Bong.
Right.
Nothing. No, you don't have alternative state. None. Very good recipe in my book. If people like very deep meditation and they are familiar with the alternative state of mind, there is a really good recipe of Amanita with milk cooking. You cook it with milk, and the recipe is in a book. And you can digest. You digest it by small shots every 45 minutes. So you can control the condition which you want to reach, and you can stop anytime. And you can use up to 15 grams of dry powder. It's a kind of very deep meditation when you stop thinking at all. You stop thinking at all, and your body is so still, you don't want to move. You know what's hardest part in meditation? Because you want to sit and eat and do something. With Amanita, you just sit still for 7-8 hours. Your head is empty, and you have great insights. And it's the only thing in my book is too much honey. You have to put it. It's 3 tablespoons. So if you're gonna try it, don't use 3 spoons. Just use 1, because it's become so sweet. It's even not pleasant to drink. I personally don't eat any sugar. That's maybe for personally to me. But this is very good to reach alternative state. But it's not a real trip. It just push you so down in your mind. You know, when you reach the deepest point, let's say on mushrooms or ayahuasca, you come to a state when you're just so still in mind and body. And when it started your own journey. That's a good recipe.
That's awesome.
It's much better than smoking.
I call that feeling the great thud.
The great thud.
Yeah. That's a good recipe. And it's in a book. You can find it in the recipes.
Well, I'm going to leave a last little plug for the book. It's Microdosing with Amanita Muscaria. That's the English version. It's in Russian too. Are there other languages available too? Because I have a lot of people needing this in other languages, I've found, but
we should talk with the publisher, because we have all the copyrights. I just keep the Russian copyrights for myself.
Right.
So I can end up with shrooms and brooms.
Right, there you go.
For pharma followers.
That's awesome.
If we like pharma, we should read my book.
Fantastic. And I'll leave links in the description to your podcast in Russian, because it has captions in English, I think, right? So
yeah, I have a whole channel for Amanita microdosing, and I put English subtitles. Not everything, but most videos. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, thank you again for the time, for the knowledge, and just sharing some of this with us. I think it'll help a lot of people, and I appreciate it. So.
Yeah, I wish you to continue to do your beautiful videos. I like your editing, because I'm an editor yourself, and when I watch your video in Jamaica, it's really great.
I appreciate
all
that.
The shots, all the lightning and everything.
Big thanks to my patrons who are always supporting this work. I wish you well on your journey to try to have fantastic health, learn about the natural world, and try to rediscover some of these natural medicines. All right, we'll see you in a future video. Stay safe, everyone.